Hey everybody, this is a brand new Night of the Jumps podcast. I'm your host for the live stream commentary and also for the podcast, Steve Sommerfeld, and also the host of the Riders Lounge podcast. There'll be a little bit on there from this as well, and make sure to keep up with everything about freestyle motocross, not just Night of the Jumps, but everything about the sports over there on the Riders Lounge. But anyway, this episode, this is all about Berlin. Coming up, we've got 1 week to go before the very first show for 2023. It will be the Freestyle of Nations. We're finally back in Berlin. Berlin was actually the last show we did before COVID. It was the start or sometime in February 2020, and we're coming back February 2023. And hopefully nothing stops us from getting this show on the road. Last time we were in Berlin, that was actually one of the best events I think I had ever personally seen. There was just so much excitement, energy, the atmosphere from the crowd, the riders was just off tap. Little did we know that was probably the last amount of fun we were going to have for the next 2 or 3 years. So it did work out quite well that Berlin was so awesome that we all wanted to come back and do it again. So we're coming back, Berlin, inside the Mercedes-Benz Arena on February 24 and 25. If you haven't got your tickets already and you live in Berlin or you live in Germany, maybe you live in all of Europe, make sure to grab your tickets and we'll see you there next weekend. If you won't be inside the Mercedes-Benz Arena, you can also check it out on the live stream, and we will have the links on Facebook and YouTube very, very soon, probably in the next day or so. Probably by the time this goes out, I should have had that up already. So you can then just put that in your calendar and make sure you watch it. It'll be, I think it's 7 o'clock kickoff on Friday and Saturday night. I could be wrong on those times. I will put those details in with the link in the show notes to this episode. Now, who will be riding this event? The last time we were there in Berlin, there was a world team. We'll be going back for the world team again. This time, though, Sheeny and Squibby and Javier won't be there. It will actually be Luc Ackermann, the current world champion and X Games gold medalist. He will be joined by another X Games gold medalist and another world champion in David Ronaldo from France. And just to keep the Berlin crowd happy, you know, we wanted to play it up to the locals. We've got Kai Haase. He is returning from injury. This will be his first competition back, and I do know he's down at the Lidas or the Yadis compound in Spain right now, training with his competitor, with the arch nemesis. He's training with Marc Pinyol, who will be riding for Team Spain. Again, Pinyol is back. He's one of those next-gen kind of riders he just keeps popping up and he just keeps coming with new tricks. And remember, he was the guy who brought out that inside roll, one of the craziest body varials ever. He'll be joined in Team Spain by Maikel Melero, 5-time world champion, and the return from retirement, Dany Torres. Oh yeah, I bet you didn't think that name was going to come up right now. So Dany will be coming out of retirement, I think for about the 4th time he's retired, maybe 3rd, I don't know. So he will be back, and there's actually a little bit of extra news. I'll talk about that later. And Team Czech Republic. So we've got the world team, we've got Team Spain, and we've got Team Czech, and that will be led by the European champion himself, Peter Pilat, and he will be accompanied by Matej Čezák and Filip Podmol. So there's 9 incredibly solid riders there. We also do have the BMX mountain bike and scooter guys as well, and they will be competing. So their points in the best trick side of things at the end of the show, their tricks actually count to who goes through to hopefully win the event. And off the top of my head, just quickly, we do have the Godziak brothers. So Simon and David from Poland, Simon and David Godziak, they'll be there. Leon Binkerbank, he's another local German, a local Berliner. So we do have a couple of locals in this event. And the cool thing is, amazing. Oh, I'm going to have to bleep that. Hang on. If this goes out on the Riders Lounge podcast, I'm not bleeping. on Night of the Jumps, I should probably be a little bit more professional. It's a podcast, so it's kind of like, are they professional? Are they not professional? That's how the world goes in podcasts. Trust me, I've been there for a long time now. Anyway, so the event, it is the Freestyle of Nations again. It is 3 teams going head-to-head against each other to see who will stand on top of the podium. 3 freestyle motocross riders per team and 1 mountain bike, BMX, or scooter rider, depending on who each of the team captains choose to join their team for best trick, will go through. Now, each rider will throw down their one run. There's no qualies, there's no finals. It is their best freestyle motocross run. There will be the best whip competition. There'll be a synchro comp, and then there's best trick at the end. So the riders actually get to choose amongst themselves who do they think is actually more capable, who's got the better whip in the team. Okay, you've got a better whip, you go out and go win it for us. And who are the 2 guys who ride as similar as each other, or alternatively, completely, this could go the other way, that they could be so opposite. You could have a synchro competition with an upright ruler and a backflip ruler side by side. Why not? So there's decisions for the team captains to make in this competition series. So what they'll do is we'll have Peter Pillar will be the team check captain. I think Kai Haase is probably the captain for the world team, being the local Berliner, and letting Luc Ackermann just let Luke and David think about the best trick and think about the big stuff they need to bring. And Kai can probably just be chilling out. I mean, he's coming back from injury. He's got enough to think about. Let him just be the captain and send the troops out and do the hard work. And for Team Spain, I don't know. Who would even be the captain? We won't even know until on the night. You would have to say Dany Torres is probably the most senior rider for Team Spain. However, Maikel Melero is easily the most senior rider at Night of the Jumps. He understands the judging so much better than any other rider who has come through Night of the Jumps in the last 22 years of competition, or 23 years. So Melero, he's got 5 world championships up his sleeve. He knows what the judges are looking for. He knows how to play to the judges and play to the crowd in this type of environment. Maybe Melero will be the judge. We'll find out. So they will then choose, okay, who goes into each discipline, and hopefully within those different disciplines, whoever's in those different disciplines could kind of win these joker rounds. So the best whip and the synchro competition are actually 100 points for the winner, because you're doing this for the team. 100 points for the winner. Second will get 80 points, and third will get 65 points. So it used to be 100, 75, 50, but we found that it was just such a big gap. If, let's say, the world team wins both the best whip comp and the synchro comp, it's almost impossible for any other team to get even remotely close to catching up to them. So after the last few years we've looked at the judging, we've looked at the points, and that's how it will benefit, I think, everybody, and make it a more even playing field for the 3 teams to battle it out for the podium spot, or the top of the podium spot. So yes, the winner, 100 points, second, 80, third, 65. Now the plan would be to go in and say, we want to win best whip. Who's our best whipper in the team? And kind of just let them focus on that. And if you can, let the other 2 guys in the team do the synchro. So then hopefully they can pick up the win in that synchro competition. So there's a little bit of more thinking involved in the team's competition than it would just be for a solo world championship competition, where it's you just do your qualifying run and you do your final. Now you have to try and be a little bit tricky and think about how to get as many points as you can. Now, the best part about this competition maybe not the best, but it's definitely, I think it's a very interesting part. We do have the return of Team Spain, and with the return of Dany Torres from competition retirement, Dany was actually part of the first ever Freestyle of Nations competition with Maikel Melero back in 2014. It was in Gelsenkirchen in Germany also, and it was inside a huge football stadium. It was the biggest Night of the Jumps competition we've ever seen. There was so many ramps, so many jumps. There was 11 teams. I can't remember exactly who they were, but it was something like Australia, Germany, Czech, Spain, France, Russia, Brazil. God, I don't know. There's more. There's more teams in there. I can't think off the top of my head. Italy was in there as well, of course. So Maikel and Dany were actually riding synchro in that competition, and they both won the very first Freestyle of Nations competition with Jose Morales. Unfortunately, Jose, he has now retired, so he won't be competing, but having Marc Pinyol in that team, that is still an incredibly strong team for Spain. So that's one awesome part about this event coming into Berlin. We've got the return of Dany. We've got the return of Team Spain, or 2 out of 3 who are coming. They won the first one. They want to win this one, the first event of 2023. Another interesting aspect of all of this, again, Dany Torres, he's come back. It was an injury that put him out. He has a brand new knee. He's like RoboCop. So he's all full of steel in his knee. He's coming out of retirement, and he has now just picked up. I don't know. Now, I'm actually just theory crafting here. I don't know if this will happen, but I just saw him put up a brand new photo this afternoon of him with a Yamaha YZ250 two-stroke. I don't know if Dany's ever ridden a Yamaha. Personally, I don't remember it. Maybe he did when he was younger. But if I remember back to all of the Red Bull X Fighters events, and he has ridden more X Fighters events than any other rider in the world. He has more head-to-head wins than any other rider in the world. And I remember all of those being on a KTM 250. And I think he did dabble a little bit in the KTM 450. So just today, just this afternoon, Dany Torres put up a photo of a Yamaha YZ250. We are only 1 week away from the Freestyle of Nations at Night of the Jumps in Berlin. Will he have enough time to go cut out his airbox, cut his seat down, throw the flip levers on, make sure his steering dampener's tight and it's on the frame? Or will he continue to come on the KTM and start to do training on the Yamaha later? I don't know. I honestly don't know. I'd love to say that this is like clickbait and you're going to have to come and find out. And I kind of know, but actually I have no idea. So we'll find out in 7 days' time. Somebody else who has just changed motorbike, who I'm pretty sure will definitely be riding it. Pretty sure, definitely. Kai Haase. Again, I don't think I've ever seen Kai Haase on any other bike than a Suzuki. But in 2023, at Night of the Jumps, Kai will also be returning from injury. He had a huge crash at Royal Hills last year and smashed himself on I think it was a 4th gear step up, and he came up about 1 or 2 meters short. Snapped his leg bad. Anyway, hopefully he's not watching this and he doesn't think about it too much. But Kai will be ditching the Kickstart Kai. It's old. He's out with the Suzuki and he's in with the gas. So I haven't even looked at the stats, but I'm going to guess that he's probably losing about 10 to 15 kilograms from the Suzuki coming down to the gas. Now, will that be good or will that actually backfire a little bit? Because the one thing, if you've ever jumped freestyle motocross and if you've ever taken your hands or feet off the bike, what you'll find is, or what I found going from the 2-stroke, I've got 2 of them here, when I went from the lighter 2-stroke to the heavier 450 4-stroke, it actually felt nicer in the air because that bike stays exactly where you left it. So will it be like this weird feeling for him that he's got this lump that is flying through the air, the Suzuki, at about 140 kilograms? I don't know. And now if he's going to go swinging off the new gas, will that work differently for him? Like, will he have different kind of mechanics and rotations and things like that? I know he loves trying to throw out a lazy boy flip. Will that be difficult? What about a front flip going off that cheetah ramp? Will the front flip buck the hell out of him because he's now so many kilograms lighter? No idea. We're going to find out in Berlin. So, yep, Kai, first competition ever on the gas, coming back from injury as well. It's going to be all new for the local Berliner. So there's a fair bit going on in this competition. I mean, Philip Podmol, I know he's been working on new tricks on different ramps. I don't know if we're going to see anything new from him in Berlin, but I know he's definitely been working on things. Marc Pinyol. Pinyol is always one of those riders who you just never know what he'll bring. I remember, it must have been about probably 2020 or 19, he just came out with the surfer takeoff to tsunami backflip. And I think he was already playing around with it on the super kicker. I think he may have even tried it on the egg roll quarter pipe. And it was only through pressure of thinking about the competitions coming up soon that he decided to do it over 75 feet. He had pretty much no practice in him and he threw it out. So Pinyol is one of those riders where when the pressure's on him, he performs better than most riders. So that'll be very interesting to see what happens with Marc Pinyol in Berlin this year. I know he's been very busy. He's been riding a lot of shows. Probably not an awful amount of time training for new tricks, but I do know, like I said, he's there right now with Kai Haase in the foam pit. I can't wait to see what he's going to come up with. Peter Pillard, Matej Cezak, like I said, these guys, they are just... Matej is like this new young gun. He's got all the style and he's not throwing out the biggest tricks in the world. But when I watch Matej, I'm like, that dude looks like he's having fun and he's got so much style in every trick that he does. That sometimes gets more points than being the gnarliest rider out there. I mean, if you want to think of gnarly riders, as an example, Luc Ackermann. So Matej's not in that Luc Ackermann kind of area of gnarliness, but he's got the style to try and get enough points for Team Czech Republic. And speaking of style, Peter Pillard, the captain, that dude has unique tricks that pretty much nobody in the world does. So the side saddle takeoff, side saddle all the way through on a backflip, landing to side saddle. I don't think anybody has ever done that other than Pillard. He also has the candy bar takeoff, and I think he throws out a bit of a saran wrap in the middle, and he can land on a candy bar landing on a backflip as well. And on top of all that, he is just as stylish as well. So Team Czech Republic, there's the gnarliness factor from Philip. There's the style from Pillard and Matej. They're looking so good to be on top of the podium. You've got Team Spain with Dany Torres, Maikel Melero, and Marc Pinyol. So much gnarliness, so much experience in that team. And then you've got the world team. Kai Haase, like I said, Kai is probably one of the most naturally talented riders ever. The guy raced A1 Supercross last year. So he races Supercross, he races motocross, hard enduro, downhill mountain bikes, flat track, speedway, and he does freestyle motocross. It's almost a sideshow for him to be doing freestyle motocross. Then you've got Luc Ackermann, like I just said, one of the most gnarly riders in the world and ever. That guy, he's his motto is go big or go home. He's either going home or he's going in the back of an ambulance, because he will throw down the biggest tricks and he muscles that bike around like nobody else has ever done. And I was talking to Bilko about a month ago. Luke put up a 360 video, and it just somehow kicked off this huge debate about 360s when we were talking about it on the Riders Lounge podcast, actually. And Bilko sent me through about 50 messages with different 360s that he'd done throughout his career, the good ones, the crashes, the combos that he's done. Bilko's probably the rider to innovate the most on the 360 and land the most on it. I know Sheeny's done a lot with it. I know Clinton Moore's done a lot. Nate Adams was one of the first guys, I think, to really make the 360 his own. But even Bilko said, Tom Pages, sorry, I almost forgot Tom Pages and his brother Charles. But Bilko actually just commented, and I think everybody would agree, Luke, on his day, has probably the biggest 360 and the coolest 360. And after almost 20 years of that trick being out there, there's still not that many riders who can do a real 360 like Luc Ackermann. Throw in the front flip, throw in the double backflip combos. He's done body varials. He's got some of the biggest flip tricks. That ruler flip is massive before he even stands on his seat on the run up. And when he does that, it is the biggest ruler flip ever if you take a photo. So Luc Ackermann with Kai Haase, the two Germans on German soil, and rounding out the world team, again, David Ronaldo, X Games gold medal. He created the Malachi flip, the back flip with the Cali roll in the middle. Everybody thought it was impossible. Nobody even thought to give that a shot because it sounds so ridiculous. But David Ronaldo stomped that one, and he took an X Games gold medal for his troubles. He came out with the bobby spin last year, maybe the year before, I can't remember, one of the last X Games events. And so David Ronaldo, he's got body varials, he's got front flips, he's got the biggest back flips, and he's got the style. And if it doesn't have style, he's not interested. That's the best part about David Ronaldo. If he's on, he's on. And if he wants to win, get out of the way, because the dude's going to win. So couple him with Luc Ackermann and the natural talent of Kai Haase, man, this is going to be tough to beat the world team this time in Berlin. Speaking as Steve Sommerfeld or as the Riders Lounge podcast, not from Night of the Jumps, if I was going to bet on who would win, I don't think I could, but I somehow feel confident that Spain could win this, more because they would be more in sync, if that makes sense. So I know Pinyol can throw out big whips, so you've got a good whipper on your team. Melero and Dany Torres probably will be the two best riders to go side by side because they've ridden together for 15 years. So I don't know, something's kind of leading me in the way that maybe Spain could actually take out this competition, or at least one night of the competition. Maybe I'll hedge my bets. Maybe Team Spain takes one. You know what? Actually, Team Czech Republic could actually do it. Because, like I said, Philip Podmol, the younger of the Podmol brothers, we've all seen what Libor did in his career. Philip is probably a little bit more, I don't know, measured, where he doesn't always go absolutely bananas like Libor did, knowing he was going to crash and still do it. Philip does like to see the next day sometimes, but I do know he's got some big tricks that he's been working on. So maybe with the gnarly factor of Philip, with the style and the synchro factor of Pilat and Mate together and their runs. Oh man. No, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to bet. I'm going to sit on the fence on this one. Sorry. I can't do it because each of these teams has a very good reason to win this competition. So let's see what happens. And each day, each night, Friday night and Saturday night are both their own competition. So there'll be a winner on Friday, there will be a winner on Saturday, and all the points will gather together for the IFMXF Championship for the night of the jumps. So everybody will be wanting to win. Well, you always want to win, but when it goes into a season, and that's the whole idea of Night of the Jumps, there's that little bit extra motivation to make sure you get on top of the podium 2 nights in a row and don't go out and find like an after party after the first night because you've won and then you turn up and you just can't perform on the second day. So let's see how that one works out. All right, I think that's about enough from me. Thank you very much for listening. I think this will probably be on both the Night of the Jumps podcast, and I'll probably also put it on the Riders Lounge podcast because I took a few detours that I didn't think I would take in this episode. But you know what? I think it's all freestyle motocross. Throw it out there. So this is directly for the fans of Night of the Jumps who come to each and every event and who watch every event on the live stream, or if you keep up with your favorite riders over a full season over the last 20 years. And also for people who are just interested in freestyle motocross and free ride in general, or action sports in general, on the Riders Lounge podcast. Thank you very much for tuning in. We'll see you in 1 week's time.